Oh, Foxy, it's your birthday. Not for real, real, just for play, play. This is Cree Summer, and Moana Nui will be right back.
Hui, aloha mai kako, everyone. Welcome back to the Moana Nui podcast and our Mana Bomb segment. Happy New Year, everybody. Haoli makahiki ho, lono ika makahiki. It is good to be back with you all. We're just coming back from some well-deserved time off and recharging, rejuvenating, all of the things that we need at the end of the year. But as always, my name is Moana McAdams, and I'm tuning in from the cold East Coast. We just had 2 days of snow, but we're here and we're ready for today's show. Aloha, sis. How are you?
Woo, aloha. Oh my gosh, I'm with you. I am so happy to be back here, 2025. I missed doing our podcast and, lono iko makahi to everyone and soon bunhi pachoy to our ancestors out there. So, yeah, what a wonderful time to be in. And also one of the roughest times, I think, for many people to be in. So, aloha mai kako, Kanoilani Davis, Mana Bombs, powered by Mahina Design, signing in from Molokai Nui Ahina. Aloha.
Awesome. Well, with the start of the new year, one of the things that I always hear is like new year, new you, and a lot of different ways that people approach a new year. Before we kind of jump and dive into the Mana Bomb, I just wanted to ask, like, I'm curious if there's any like habits, rituals, or things that you do at the beginning of the year to kind of get that fresh start and launch into a new, kind of period of our life.
Yeah, definitely. I think towards the end of the year, I do have my yearly rituals, I guess you would say. So yeah, during the end of the year, it's a lot of reflection, which makes sense because culturally that's the time for reflection, right? It's
Mhm.
the alakalohi wa kanaloa. We go into the season of more darkness than daytime. So it requires us to do a lot of reflection. And I see myself utilizing that same cultural aspect inside of me. And so I reflect back, not on necessarily a negative or positive way of things, but just kind of really looking at laying it down. And then as I get closer to the beginning of the Gregorian calendar, mind you, I already celebrated the new year in November. But as I get closer to the Gregorian calendar, which means this is the realm where I have to coexist with other cultures and other people, right? And so that's usually when I lay out what my year is going to look like for 2025. I do that every year. I do a vision board. I call it Vision and Vibes. I absolutely 1000% believe in that because every single time I've done it, they've always came to fruition. And being very specific about what that looks like is important. And then I assign me a word. I assigned me a word for the year. Last year it was momona, and just this abundance and that idea of, I think really what it meant for me was not that I needed to have a lot of things or that I had a lot of things. It was a reminder to always be appreciative of what I have. This year is definitely about calibrating and recalibrating. So it's readjusting and shifting, pivoting my spaces so that I can better move forward. Really changing the way I think, really changing how things maybe perhaps ended the way they did in 2024, and trying not to repeat patterns, really trying to grow. And so recalibrate is my word for the year, and that's something I want to focus on. And what that means right now, I couldn't tell you, but I'm pretty sure I'll have a better story of what that would look like at the end of the year. So yeah, how about you? How about yourself? What kind of things do you do?
Yeah, kind of similar. Like I don't know, just like take inventory, reflection. Like reflection is always huge for me. And I think you kind of hit on it when you talked about yours is like the vision and the vibes and like setting goals for like the things that you want to kind of shoot for during the year. And I think that's important because I think sometimes people don't set goals. They kind of just go like, oh, we'll just see what happens, right? Like, which is not it's not necessarily a bad approach because some people just that's more their thing. But I guess like for me, um, if I don't have that target, then it's easy to get off track on different places and not really do the things that you set out to do. And for me, I think over time it's kind of like if I don't do that, then I'm letting myself down. Like I'm not keeping promises that I make to myself, and I don't like that because I feel like I've spent so much time of my life, like doing things for other people, and not that it's a bad thing, but like really just staying balanced and making sure that I'm also investing in myself and being accountable to the stuff that I have laid out for myself, how I want, like you said, how I want to grow. Uh, um, so yeah, I kind of do that, like um, look at my goals, see what I got done, see what I didn't get done, and if for the things that I didn't or wasn't able to manifest, like why was that? And then also like being okay with not getting it done, but understanding like why it happened and what I gotta do to make sure that it still happens. Because just because you didn't get it done in the specific time doesn't mean that you can't move it to a next deadline or move it forward. Um, but yeah, I used to have like words for each year too, and this year I kind of forgot. I think I just kind of got lost in my ohana over the holidays. But I think this year it's kind of like I was thinking back. I was like, oh, it's like been like 7 years almost since my last big part of my life, which is when my dad passed away. So um I think they have that. I don't know if it's really a thing, but like they say that every 7 years is like a different kind of phase of your life. And so for me, it's just like continuing that evolution, and we have some big things coming up for us this year that's gonna change our everyday. For my ohana, so just trying to think about like small shifts. Hopefully, it's just small and it's not a huge shift, but and how we need to kind of evolve so that we can prepare ourselves for like what's coming in the next 7 years. Um, as we get older and all of this stuff. It's just all the things that middle-aged people are like, okay, what's gonna come next? What have I been doing well? And how does that change going forward? But yeah, I have like goals for myself and then like goals for like Ohana and what we want to do together, and how is everybody else's life shifting to, and what kind of conversations do we have to make sure that we're best supporting each other as everybody kind of moves forward in the different phases of life, the different, I don't know, speeds of life, it seems. Um, but yeah, so for those who are listening to us, we'd love to hear like what your New Year's kind of habits are, what works for you. Because maybe we can pick from take a look at what you guys do and pick up some of those things. I've always wanted to do like a vision board. It's been a while. Like I used to do it before. But I think that's something that for me is helpful because I'm a visual person. Like, oh, go back to this is what you said you was gonna do, So, and then of course when you accomplish those things, celebrating those achievements too. Yeah. So mahalo for sharing that with us, T. So yeah, the reason why I asked is because it is the new year. It's our first Manabam segment, and it has to do with our Manabam. So here we go. May we get out of our own way, out of our head, and be more about action than talk in 2025. Ooh, that action over talk. Yeah, let's talk about that part.
Oh, okay. Well, before I begin, let me just go ahead and share that day's captions just to set us off. So I write, let's build courage, confidence, finding out who we truly are in this world at this time. Be aware of how choices not only affect self, but others. Be a team player, strive to the highest, create more unity rather than individuality, be authentic and show up fully. Let's start with changing our vocabulary and ways of thinking. In the past few years, I've observed and learned a lot about how one perceives self and an expectation of their value. A lot of complaining about things they were doing, but blaming others, a lot of insecurity, lying, deceit, a lot of assumptions, self doubt, and not taking accountability. It was more self centered than centering self. Again, I say that a lot, but selfish versus good, of feeling good about self and giving freely, the act of taking versus giving. It was so interesting to witness these things among folks who have a lot to say about healing. One common thing is, or one common theme is, it's my best. When one would always come up short, always late, not showing up, letting teams, relationships, family members down, that was something that was said. It was a sad excuse to keep being below the bar, but expecting to be treated well above it. Now, if that didn't hurt some, that didn't wake somebody up, I don't know. That woke me up. Changing vocab from "you did your best" to "it's my best" to "there is room for improvement and I can do better." Be it, and stop with excuses, pity, and victimhood. We have a saying, "Kuliay kanu," strive for the highest. It means not giving up, stay humble, and know there's so much ahead. And that's also part of Onipa'a, which is coming up January 17th, actually, from the overthrow. So we'll talk more about that later. But changing our mindset, excuses, and actions to be one of growth, solutions, accountability can lead to security versus insecurity, confidence versus feeling harmed, determined, motivated, and a higher quality of life, and actions. And so I guess one of the biggest things in regards to this mana bomb was this part of us that blames others for the reason why we can't get ahead. And boy, it's easy blaming other people. And I'm victim to that. I am also the perpetrator. So a lot of the times it's really hard to admit that perhaps the issue is us, perhaps the issue is in us. And I think if we go into May 20 or May 25 to 2025 with this understanding that maybe we look into ourselves first. And it's not about blaming ourselves, right? Like that's where we don't want to get into, where we blame ourselves for everything, because that just puts us in a hole. That's the irony in it. But just like being able to go, kind of knocking off all of those parts. Like, did I do this? Could I have done better? What did I do that made this happen? And looking at it from a less emotional way, but more of a logistical way may be helpful. Because I think if we start to look at it from an emotional way, we start to blame ourselves for everything. And then we're back into not being good enough. And then we're back into the insecurities. And then we're back into this issue again of blaming others. And that's the irony. We blame ourselves, but yet we blame others for blaming ourselves and how we feel. So it's a whole
circle
of just, it's the broken Ferris wheel. It's the hamster wheel. It's the merry-go-round. It just keeps going and going and going. And the issue with that is the emotional parts that attach to that, as well as the projection and the memories of past traumas that are connected to those memories too. Because if we keep sitting on those things, I think that's what keeps us in the circle, right? It keeps us in this merry-go-round. So yeah, getting out of our way. Just get out of your way.
Yeah, and I think like what you're saying is the reflective piece and asking yourself, like, how could I have done that better? Or what was there something that I did that, maybe triggered something, and I think in that, like the self-reflection piece is super important. And I think what can be helpful too is when you have like trusted people that are around you that can give you the feedback, right? Like, oh, remember, like I know you said you wanted to do X, like whatever that is, when this was happening, I saw this, and where people can kind of help you hold yourself accountable, where again, because they are trusted, they're not blaming you, they're just helping you to like be realistic and true so that you can really get better and get past like the things that maybe have been obstacles for you before. Because I think that's super important. It's easy, for anybody to be like, "Oh no, wasn't me, well, la 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 la." But you need those people around you to like talk to you straight and tell you that your doo stink. Like no, you never do what you said you was gonna do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there's also that fine line of, like I've said it before, right? The creatures of comfort. You can be a creature of comfort. Come on, Kanoy. You are not speaking well today. Anyways, let me go back. You can be a victim, or a creature of comfort towards being a victim. And what I say is, you get used to that. You get used to being, it's not my fault. They should have done that. How come they didn't do this? They should have done this, and this is that. And, you make assumptions. And then not only that, you just keep blaming and never, ever, ever taking that on. And it's interesting because we don't realize we're taking on the victim, right? We don't realize that. A lot of the times we wanna blame. And again, there's so many fine lines between the irony of going back into these cycles again. I kind of believe that if you take out the emotional parts of it when we reflect, and you really stick to the logistical stuff, that really helps in gauging its true reality. I think the emotions allow us to feel what we're not expressing outwardly. So if there is that feeling when something comes up, that just tells you something over there just got to be fixed. If you see somebody that gives you an feeling, something inside of you got to be fixed, right? And can't always blame the other person. So I don't know. I think maybe that's why it's being able to take out the emotional parts of it and looking at it from a logistical view is very, very helpful. Very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, because emotions have a way of like leading us.
Yes.
And which is, everybody has to deal with their emotions. We're not saying like suppress your emotions, because that's not healthy either. Release, like however, whatever that looks like for you, a healthy release of that emotion, but then come back and look with a more objective mind, like you're saying, like focus on the facts, the stuff that actually did happen, and then now what, right? Like, and only you can ask that question, like how could I have done that better? That's a self-reflection question. Like, there is no right. The only right answer is the answer that you can give, and you being honest with yourself. I know we talked about that in a lot of previous episodes. Is that radical honesty with yourself and accountability, like to yourself, right? Like, and being true to that. And I think that a lot of times when we have these conversations, I'm like, yep, we're going back to that radical honesty piece, the accountability stuff, because it's all central to it,
Absolutely. And that's probably that's the scariest and hardest place to be in, because to admit that you're the problem to your own crap, it's not easy to hear, not easy to hear, especially if you're trying, especially if you're really trying. And that's okay if you're trying and you still end up and you're constantly trying. I think all it's telling you is try something different now.
Right.
That's all it's telling you. Like, that's why when I talk about like take out the emotion, because the fear is the emotion too, right? Like, I've been trying, I've been doing, that's the resentment now. We're frustrated, we're angry, like they keep blaming me. I'm trying and I'm doing my best and and but I can't get anywhere. Okay, take the emotion out, the anger out. Now look at it from the outside. Sounds like you got to try something different. Okay, let me try something different. Oh, it's not working. Did you give it time? Are we quickly just running away? Like, just try and see. And then that, and I think we just tend to like that whole manawa nui piece, that be patient part, is also, that can be an issue. We just want things to be done, tomorrow. We want it to be changed next week. I know people who listen to 3 podcasts on YouTube, and then they're the expert of it. And then finally, now they're selling that to somebody else. And that could be this right here. Who the heck knows? But you know what I mean? Like, doing that and then never even trying it. So like I'm the kind of person, I don't like to recommend anything to anybody until I've tried it for at least a year.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at least minimum a year. I will not recommend anything, because if I used it and I truly believed in it, and after a year I see actual, real, true results, then I will say, hey, you might want to try this. This thing works. I tried it. Da 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 da. Whereas if I used it for a week and I haven't seen results yet, yo, you got to try this because it does this, this, and this, and it has all these da 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 da. And I saw it on TikTok and they said da 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 da. Like, don't believe those people. They're buy on the whim, mentally, physically, and emotionally, all things, and you just gotta be very, very careful. I guess not don't, but like discern. Discern.
Yeah. No, I think there's absolute truth to that, because especially like in this technology fast age, right? Like, oh, I want results quickly. I did this, so like, where is it? Um, and things do take time. I don't care how much technology we have. Like, we need to have that whole manabanui, or that patience, um, to get those results. Like, it doesn't. You never get this way overnight, right? Like, you had however many years to get where you are now.
Yep.
To make the change, it's gonna take. It's like, like, okay, so we're in a new year, right? So a lot of people have that weight loss goal, right? Like, oh yeah, I want to lose like 50. I don't know, pick it, 20 pounds, whatever, and I want to lose it in a month, right? And so maybe there's something that can make you lose it in a month, but it's probably not sustainable. And then what you also have to remember is like, well, it didn't take you a month to get those 20 pounds. Like, you gained it over time. So in the flip side, it's going to take some time to take it off, like, and that applies to habits and new things that we're trying to do. It does take time. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you can afford
Right.
the other route. And that has its own consequences.
Right. Unless you're like blessed to have, like, I don't know, be one of these, rich celebrities, all, and then you have people to do all your things. So then you can spend all day exercising or doing whatever, right? Like, it's just, being mindful of like what's your reality and what can be done, with the resources that you have.
So basically, yeah, get out of your own way, get out of your head. I think that was a huge theme of last year, was just witnessing folks. It's interesting because I'm usually pretty good at not being in my head, but here's what I noticed is when I'm around an environment of people who are a certain way, I start picking up on those habits. Yeah. You don't even know you're doing it, and you start picking up. And when I started to pick up all these habits, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I think about how far I've come and how much I've worked to not be in those spaces. So like they say, even, when you come out of prison, when you even get sober, if you go into spaces that were the old spaces that you were in prior to going to prison, or when you were in addiction, it's highly likely, based off of your environment, that you will be back in those same spaces. Mm-hmm. Same with our mental and emotional health. I think last year was the worst year, partly because too, for me, it was really hard because of the level of things that I was working with last year in regards to the crisis counseling and my teams and things. It was triggering so many people and even myself. And I think one of the biggest things that came out from that, the result was I started to become the people that I was around. And that's when I realized, holy crap, you need to start making your boundaries a lot thicker, Kanoi. You really need to put your foot down. You are not going to, in order for you to stay healthy, to help others to be more healthy, you gotta really, really be conscious and aware of that. And, I admit, like I succumbed to it. I succumbed, and it ate me up from the inside. It really, truly did. And, I will not put myself through that again. I will be more responsible with, my space and with those I bring into my space, with those speaking into my space and allowing them to share what they like. I have to be very cognizant and aware, and I have to be more responsible. And that's kind of where I came from, as far as like, get out of your head, because there are so many people who made assumptions. And so many people who acted a certain way, and they were led by fear. They were led by their own projections. And for me, I can see the potential in somebody. I can see the beautiful parts of them. I can see like, man, if you just got out of your way, like you could do big. Like I believe in you, but I can only believe in you. I can believe in you more than you, but I cannot believe in you to run me over.
Yeah.
That's what I gotta draw that line, right? But at the end of the day, I still believe I'll get out of your way, and then I still believe in you, kind of thing. And I witnessed a lot of that last year. It was really sad, really, really sad. And I still believe in them. I still believe in them. So just
Absolutely.
I can't be there, can't be wrong.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta like create space and protecting space for someone. Sometimes it means distancing from them so that because sometimes people can use you as a crutch too, right? Like and like, oh well, I and it's like, no, I need you to stand on your own 2 feet and you need to learn lessons, for yourself too. And sometimes our presence can prohibit that from happening because they feel like they have their safety net. So
That's me too. Not even on that part. You know, I could, because I'm the person that I am, and I'm very upfront and I'm very real about it. But I'm here to help. I will not leave you. You'll have to leave me first. Like
right.
I'm here. I can take a lot of punches, but there eventually it just gets like too much. You know what I mean? Like and I think in my instances, it's like I can trigger people.
Mm.
And that's never fun. And I acknowledge that, and that's something I want to work on. But I also those are my boundaries too. Like I think me having boundaries triggers people, and it really makes them feel as if good enough or something, or like something goes on in their head because I'm like, no, you can't do that to me. And then suddenly it's like, it's you. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know what to tell you at this point. I have boundaries, you have boundaries. Let's just respect each other's boundaries.
Boundaries,
right? Right. And and I think that's where getting in your head gets in the way. It's like I take out the emotional part. That's my problem. I can take out the emotional part of having a boundary. I'm not mad at you. I feel junk having to tell you, but this is the boundary. This is what we both agreed on. You didn't meet it. Oh, but I thought that. And I'm like, no, nothing changed on my end. You and I was supposed to hit this goal. You can't hit this goal with me. And you don't even show up to help be that team player to hit that goal with me. Then that's not me. I finish, and I will finish with or without you. And I think, like I said, I think that triggers people. I think that triggers people in a negative way, which is junk, which is really junk. So.
Yep, I could totally see that happening. Excuse me.
Yeah. I'm definitely you either in my way or you with me. So most times you in my way. Get out of my way. Just kidding. Nah, I'm not. I really am. If you and I see, Moana, if you and I were to set out a goal, you better believe I'm gonna be at the end. And I only would want you to be at the end with me.
Mm-hmm.
That's no matter what happens, But that doesn't always come out. Sounds good.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people have, like, even though you're using the same language, people have different senses of like what that really means. When it. I'm trying to think of like an example. I don't know, but I find myself doing this like all the time. Like, I know we talked about this, we said this, but like what it means to this person and what it means to me clearly is different because there's a gap. There's something missing that I don't feel like is what I thought it was gonna be. And it looks like then, but while in their brain it could be like, oh no, but I did it. Like, this is what we said and this is what I did, and I'm like, well, that wasn't what I was thinking though. So to me, sometimes it can be something that's lost in communication. And so like sometimes like when people ask me something, I'm like, okay, but what does that look like for you? Like, for example, my husband and I were having a conversation about like, stress and like, oh, I want freedom and I want peace. And I'm like, okay, help me understand what that looks like for you. Because how I define freedom or peace is probably very different than the next person, right? Like, so sometimes I just think you need to ask like more questions about like what that really means, and like, okay, now we're good. This is what it looks like for you. I understand what that means to you. Um,
Well, that's you not making an assumption, correct? That's you getting
mhm.
clarification. People
Yeah.
live in their head that make assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
Think this, or I thought you, and I summed you, right? That's where you're in your head. So you and I are on the same page as getting clarification.
Yeah.
Most people will be in their head and will live off of assumptions
True.
and thinking something is happening, thinking somebody thought this, thinking this was done. And that's how they move. And
Yeah.
that's, in my mind, an excuse to not approach a situation to get more clarification.
Yeah.
And that's usually fearful because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to look like, you don't want to look dumb because you didn't get it right the first time. Like, I get all that, but at the end of the day, like, it's still got to be done. If you don't know, just ask.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. Yeah.
100%. And like I myself was guilty of that too. I think again that's part of like the maturity and growth piece. That someone who has, I know I've been like that before where I've made assumptions, and like the saying, like when you make assumptions, you make an ass out of yourself. Like, yeah, I've done that. But you gotta learn your lesson not to do it again, right? And I think some people maybe takes them longer to learn a lesson, to get to the clarification piece. And
Well, let's put it on the other side. Like, I've done those things too. I actually purposely assume because I don't want to. I don't want to do something. So I'm gonna purposely in my mind assume something else is gonna happen. And then when that shit hits the fan, I thought. And that's me manipulating the situation.
True.
In order for me to feel good about the decision I made because I was too afraid to say, I can't make it. I didn't understand the assignment. Da 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 da. I feel like crap because I didn't do all these other things and I don't want to show up for this thing. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. Let's talk about the intentional ones because I do believe people are intentional in the assumption versus unintentional. And that's an excuse. That's where I think being unintentional a couple times in a year is understandable. Being unintentional or being quote unquote unintentional consistently, is intentional. There's 1,000% intention.
No, yeah, you're right. And that's like kind of like where people who are like lazy and are perfectly fine being stuck as like in that victim kind of mode. They don't want to learn. They're too lazy to learn. Whatever their reason is, yeah, there absolutely are people like that. I guess like I don't speak that way because I don't know, it's just not me. And but there are 100% people like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think you and I probably have different triggers in our world that don't allow us to be like that. Like we know what the consequences are. So the fear of asking a dumb question versus the consequence if we don't do it is way greater, right? Like, absolutely. It's way greater to freaking have to deal with the aftermath than to be the dumb question. So
yeah,
that's the dumb question.
That's definitely like being a leader of young people. They're like, I know this might be a dumb question. I'm like, nope, there's no dumb questions. Ask the question, we'll get an answer. Like whatever clarification you need, ask it. Because I feel like that can be also part of a culture that you set. Like I know when I came up, it was a lot of spaces were like not healthy, and so like you couldn't ask questions because people would make you look stupid if you did ask the questions, right? Like very tangibly. And so that was one of the things where I was like, no, when it comes my turn and I'm sitting in that leadership chair, that's not the type of environment.
Well, I think there's a difference too. Growing up, you don't ask questions. And I understand why you didn't ask questions because they were forcing you to pay a freaking attention. Because you get lickings, you ask questions. You ask stupid questions. And then I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie. I have said this, and I said this multiple times. There are stupid questions. I'm sorry. There are. I know we just said that there aren't. That's to help people talk. But then I do, and this is probably why I get in trouble in this space, is because I do believe there are stupid questions. Because culturally growing up, there's this expectation to Pilo, to observe. Like, pay
Mm.
attention to what's around you. All your answers are literally right there.
Right, yeah.
And so when you were to ask a kupuna a question, where do I put the broom? And they look at you with this dumb look because the freaking broom closet is right there. That's telling you you're not paying attention. The world doesn't revolve around you, Kanoi. Go look for the damn freaking broom or don't come back, Same thing with my daughter. She was like, I asked her to go get something from the store with my grandparents, and like my grandma was sitting there. She walks to the store, comes back without what I had asked her for in her hand. I was like, yeah, you do not come back until you have. Oh, but they didn't have it at the store. I go, there's 3 other stores around you. If grandma was to tell me to go get something, you better believe I'm not coming home until that thing is in my hand and I have it and I will come home with it. Like, I would get lickings for not coming home. And it was this idea of be resourceful, don't give up, complete your mission, go look, don't take no for an answer. Like, they were teaching us that subliminally. And I think that's the cultural part of it. And I think that's where I have a hard time adjusting in this world and that world, is because I do believe there is stupid questions. And I also believe there are stupid people. Let's just keep it real, okay?
No, 100%.
I'm not going to sit here and freaking make this all beautiful and butterflies. Like, there are stupid questions, there are stupid people. But it's how you ask. Did you take the time? Did you observe? Are you paying attention? Because that requires you to do work. Because if I'm asking you stupid questions all the damn time, I'm looking to you to answer my question, and you do all the work, and all I gotta do is just take it from there, right?
Yep.
So y'all just stop making excuses. Just get your shit together. Let's go. Okay, now we're getting a little bit more comfortable after 30 something minutes on this call.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Are there stupid people?
If you made it this far in this Mana Bombs podcast by Moana Nui, you're the winner. You're the winner chicken dinner, because you heard it straight from my mouth. Let's hope nobody makes it this far.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so yeah, don't be stupid. Pay attention.
That should just be the next one of them. Don't be stupid. Stop.
Stop being stupid.
Anyways, I'm going to sign us off just in case we get into more trouble. So, signing off from the island of Molokai Nui Ahina, it's me, Kanoilani Davis, by Mana Bombs, powered by Mahina Design.
Oh my gosh. And this is Moana for the Moana Nui podcast, signing off from the East Coast. Mahalo nui for tuning in, everyone. Please like, subscribe, share, and let us know in the comments. Are we kolohe? Are we crazy? Let us know. We want to hear from you. Okay. Until next time, ahui ho kako. Aloha.